thank you for joining us instead of the Super Bowl. I have a wonderful...
Or with the Super Bowl on another TV.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you see, you're kind. I want 100% undivided attention and love. You're much kinder than I. This kind person to my left is Dr. Deborah Bershel, and she's going to maybe tell us a little history about what she's come to talk about this evening.
Yes, I would prefer to talk about what I've come to talk about rather than what I've not come to talk about. But I am a family physician in Somerville, in Davis Square, and I really appreciate the opportunity that
my physician, yes.
Oh, that too. Okay,
Yes.
as long as you admit that.
Yes.
I won't say too many things about all the diseases I've been spreading throughout the community. But anyhow...
that was a joke.
So I'm a family physician, and about 2 years ago, I sent a letter out to my patients telling them that I was going to begin living life as I felt it was meant to be as a woman. Prior to the previous 52 or so years, I had lived as Roy Berkowitz Shelton, male, and I'm here to give Mike the opportunity to ask me a few questions about what it's been like for me after my transition. Do you have an opening question for me?
Well, we were talking before the show, and I beginning to understand this better now. And it's not like I'm a man and then I'm a woman. It's more of an evolution for you, yes?
Yeah. I think that for me, growing up, at a very early age, recognizing that I wanted to be a woman, I didn't have any idea why I wanted to be a girl and a woman, but it was always there in the back of my mind. And I just basically thought it was a fantasy. And then as I reached approximately 50 years of age, and I saw that I didn't have many more years left to be alive, it just became very painful for me to think that I would end up never having lived my life as I felt it was meant to be lived. And I started to more actively pursue looking into transitioning to live my life as a woman. Initially, the whole process, I think, revolved around wearing women's clothes, trying to look like I was a woman. I and many other transgender male to females do an okay job or not so okay job of doing this, but fundamentally it's really about an inner feeling, a feeling that we are really women, and it's not about just looking like a woman. Unfortunately, there is in order to exist in our society, one needs to typically feel like you can pass. And so prior to my transition, I did see a Dr. Spiegel at BU Medical Center, and he did some plastic surgery on my face to make it appear more feminine. And after that surgery was complete and I healed, I began practicing medicine and living my life, as a woman. And perhaps I was naive to think that overnight there would be a light switch that would go on, and there I would be. I'd be Deborah, and the whole world would accept me in the way I want to be accepted, that I would accept myself as Deborah. And no, it's been more of a process. on the surface, people have been absolutely wonderful. My family has been, to a large degree, supportive. My wife, who, we are getting divorced, but she really has been marvelous, very supportive of my process, and knows that I really needed to do this. Unfortunately, she just did not want to live with a woman. My son has been accepting. My daughter has had a very difficult time, and unfortunately, we're not talking to this day. My friends have been, for the most part, wonderful. It's been very challenging because they want to be understanding of my wife and of me, and because of the family dynamics, it's hard for them to sort of see my wife and me together. My patients, who I really thought, initially I thought my patients were going to run for the hills, or maybe I better run for the hills when I made the announcement, I would say approximately 95% of my patients remained with me. And even many of those who decided to leave the practice, sent me wonderful letters or called me in person, and said they were sorry, but they just couldn't wrap their heads around this, that they loved me as a doctor, they thought I was a great physician, but it was just going to be too difficult for them. The whole process of having my patients, who I deal with on a very intimate basis, accept me, it's been very uplifting indeed. Do you have any questions you wanted to raise with me?
I'm really loving listening to you, but I'll ask you questions whenever you need them. And so, are you acting differently as a doctor in any way?
Well, initially, I had allotted a certain amount of time to give patients a chance to express their feelings about the transition to me. So, I booked a little bit of extra time in between patients, and to allow us both to sort of feel each other out, so to speak. But after about, I'd say half a year, it became sort of almost ludicrous to, like, why even bring it up? It's sort of like, it's an unnecessary aside. If a patient would occasionally comment that they like the way I'm dressed that day, I give them thanks, and I say, yes, as many women are, I'm vain about the way I look, and I much appreciate their compliments. So for the most part, it's just really gotten back to being a family physician, which is the way I'm glad it should be. I would say, from on a personal basis, the whole process of my friends, I just have not been able to keep up my friendships the way I've liked, because I started a new relationship with another woman, and that's taken up a lot of my time. She has her circle of friends who I've enjoyed getting to know. And I've also gone on and had sexual reassignment surgery approximately a year ago. That's where, in the more medical terminology, it's a vaginoplasty, where a vagina is constructed from my penis. The recovery from that process has taken a lot of emotional energy. And frankly, I, gone through some depression myself. The whole high that I had that was associated with the transition, the initial transition, and everybody, singing praises to me, at least to my face, was sort of put a lot of the complicating issues on the back burner. Again, like the process of divorcing a woman that I've been married to for 26 years has not been pleasant. The fact that my daughter doesn't talk to me has been very challenging. And, I knew I had a lot of tasks ahead of me, again, getting prepared for the vaginoplasty. And so I sort of had a masked depression. And then, honestly, I think the lack of testosterone affected my sex drive. And, I was a little bit confused about why my sex drive, was not coming back after I had sexual reassignment surgery. As many of you may not know, all people have some testosterone. Women typically have a small amount of testosterone that's made in their ovaries and in their adrenal gland. And this appears to be critical for women in order to have a libido. And while some other trans women, I'm a trans woman, seem to have more than adequate libido after they have their vaginoplasties, mine evaporated. And I, the combination of being in a depression and not recognizing, what was lacking in me, I think led to, some difficulty in the bedroom, my relationship with my girlfriend. And recently talking a little bit personally, I did start taking a little bit of testosterone, and that has, really had a major impact on my libido. I apologize if I'm wandering around here a little
Not
bit,
at all.
Mikey.
No.
But I want to clarify to your viewers out here that gender and sexual orientation are two separate issues. Clearly they're linked to some degree for most people, so that we can procreate and carry on, the human race. But for many people who are transgender, who believe they are the gender that's opposite to the way they were genetically, chromosomally born into, our sexual orientation really is quite similar to our phenotypic presentation, that for trans women, men who want to live their lives as women remain quite attracted and only attracted to women after they transition. Some become bisexual. Some seem to have no sex drive. And some become some are, remain sexually oriented toward the gender that they transition to. So I happen to be bisexual. I think I'm perhaps a little bit more attracted to men than I am to women these days. But I am in a very loving relationship with a woman, Bernie, and we have a very enjoyable sex life. So I would like to, we talked a little bit before this formal interview, and I was curious about some of your feelings, like when you saw me, when you see me today, you still sort of see Roy, the man that was your doctor for a number of years. And I myself am curious as to why you feel you don't really feel any difference other than what you see before your eyes.
Oh no, I'm still uncomfortable.
Uh-huh.
I'm still uncomfortable. Do you remember what I wrote you when you told us that you were going to make the transition?
I vaguely remember that. I got so many letters that I am embarrassed to say I don't remember what you wrote. So why don't you?
I said that really takes balls.
Oh yes, okay, yes. I heard that joke from a few other people, and it is a good one. No,
I thought I created it myself. So no, but it's I still am comfortable calling you Dr. B actually, and it's not so easy for me to call you Deborah.
Ah, okay.
Even though
maybe after tonight,
try to be, of course, this open Cambridge type, but the feelings are not as easy. It's easier in the office because I'm used to seeing you there. But even there, I call you Dr. B. Even to the people in the front desk.
Yeah.
I'm here to see Dr. B.
Yeah. Well, I had a long name, Dr. Berkowitz Shelton, and so a lot of people did call me Dr. B before, and so I could see that it's fine if you want to continue to cheat as your feelings about me evolve.
Oh, cheat! Wow! It's getting tough. We have 9 more minutes to go. Stay tuned.
But no, I do believe that I'm not alone in this feeling that for many men who transition to live their lives as women, that it is an evolution, and I still have my doubts sometimes about who I am, and it isn't like a light switch that turned on all of a sudden and I'm a woman, and there are moments where I feel totally divorced from my previous existence as Roy, and then there are other moments where I just wonder really what is different about me. And certainly I never went through this transition thinking that I wanted to forget about my past. I had a very rich past. I have a wonderful family, a son and a daughter, and a mother and father who I love dearly, and they love me dearly. So it would be impossible for me to totally erase my past. So I think that, honestly, for some trans men, women who typically are tomboys, who transition to live as men, that they more often viewed themselves as boys growing up, and that the process, that self-doubt in some ways is less present for them, although I've talked with many of them since, and they also have their concerns about people not accepting them, and there are also issues with their genitalia, that it's much more difficult to create a fashion a penis from a vagina than it is to fashion a vagina from a penis. But And then there are also effeminate boys who many people will say, oh, this young man, it would have been better if he was born a woman. He's so effeminate. And only a very small percentage of those effeminate boys actually do transition. But for those very effeminate boys who I think more strongly viewed themselves as a woman, not that I want to be a woman, that the transition may actually be, psychological transition might be easier for them.
But you were not an effeminate, you were a guy.
Absolutely not. I just knew inside that I wanted to be a woman. I had my main issues with being identified as male seemed to appear in the bedroom, where I just had a very difficult time just wanting to have sex with any woman that I could get into the bed with me. I really found it hard to have sex without love, which, stereotypically seems to be more associated with women, genetic women.
Now, did you play with, there's a famous play that they did at Tufts called Daniel Loves a Doll.
Mm-hmm.
And this 4-year-old kid plays with this doll all during the play, and people were, because this is, the Cambridge Somerville, and people are trying to break stereotypes.
Yeah.
And then the audience is clapping because he loved his doll for the whole play. Then he takes the doll and goes, "Bap, bap, 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 bap." And so were you a typical boy in some sense when you were growing up? Or were you
I think I was a typical boy. I didn't like playing war, and I didn't like fighting. I basically never got into a fight. If there was an opportunity, to back down, I would be. I love to find that loophole. I remember crossing the Flushing Bridge by the newly built Shea Stadium when I was, maybe 8 or so years of age. I started crying, and I said to my mother, I'm never going to have to join the army, am I? I was like afraid of war, afraid of dying, and afraid of battle. I just, but that, I didn't think there was anything particularly effeminate about me. I actually, I had a lot of fears at night, and I see this in a lot of my children. They have fears of dying, and I ended up having the opportunity to read about this when I was 18. I saw my records. I saw a psychiatrist when I was in 2nd grade, and they said, we do not think there's anything serious with Roy. He does not have schizophrenia. He has an inferiority complex because he's short and he can't compete athletically with other boys. And I was like, whoa, I never thought I was bothered by being short.
Wow.
So I really thought I was an ordinary boy, but
so
I just wanted to be a woman.
Is your psychology, we only have another 2.5 minutes or less. So you mentioned your psychology. Is it different now? Your psyche? Probably very, yes.
No, I just think I'm more in sync with who I was meant to be. But I certainly, gender is a spectrum, and I still retain certain aspects of my male persona, just as I think all women have, some male components.
No, but if we could tune into your stream of consciousness, now that we all have,
the talk.
Yes, the inner talk. Is it different? The inner feelings in talk, actually. How you feel about me, Cambridge, Somerville, your patients.
I was always very empathetic. I was always very empathetic.
So it's not
I'm
a, it's
glad
not a
that
drastic.
was-
It's not a. You, so
I
it's,
don't feel so.
So if we would look at your psyche, it would be not too different from Roy's psyche.
I would say that that's probably the case.
Wow.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the case, and that's the wonderful puzzle of this whole thing. In that, not much has changed, yet I'm so happy that I made the transition. I mean, I've lost a wife that I love dearly, and it's absolutely over, and my daughter doesn't talk to me, yet I know I did the right thing.
But it seems like it's not totally that you really haven't transferred, because women and men are probably very, very, very different from each other the way they feel and think, and you don't feel that there's this great difference the way you feel and think.
Well,
I only have 25 seconds for you to answer this, Alas.
Yeah, I think that maybe you're giving too much credit to gender distinctions. We're human beings. We're supposed to love our neighbor. We're supposed to care about our community. I would beg to differ with you on that point.
Wow. On that happy note, stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining us. This is